Salute and peace and blessings to the family. This is your brother, your host, Afro Descendant Ali, back with you on the Angel Network 1930, where we dive into the stories that shape our communities and our world. I'm your host, and today we're shining a light on a powerful response to hate and community resilience in Lincoln Heights, Ohio. In February 2025, a hate group rally rattled the majority Black town, prompting residents to take action in a way that reflects their strength and solidarity. So let's get to it.
On it, and NBC News Now daily anchor Morgan Radford visited the town of Lincoln Heights, where residents have formed an armed community defense group in the wake of a neo-Nazi rally. Morgan joins us now. You were there just on Tuesday. What do the residents tell you about what's going on?
Yeah, I was there just this week. John, it was fascinating because what's interesting is that this town was founded during the Great Migration back in the 1920s as a refuge for Black citizens, which is why it was especially painful when neo-Nazis suddenly appeared in this 3,000 person majority Black town. But they decided to fight back, taking up arms and patrolling their own streets. Now they're at the center of a much larger debate about protection and free speech and who gets it.
These aren't police officers or soldiers.
They're business owners, their fathers, their sons, daughters.
These are civilians, members of the Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch Program.
It's a duty. Okay, let's go.
The duty, protecting their neighborhood, the majority Black village of Lincoln Heights, Ohio. After neo-Nazis held a rally here last month, carrying rifles, waving swastikas, and hurling racial slurs, just moments before children were let out of school. At the time, law enforcement officials said the neo-Nazis did not break any laws, but an investigation by county prosecutors is ongoing.
So this information is from February, family, but the latest story is that this town actually armed themselves. So let's take a look here.
Later, the KKK came with these flyers.
First African-American community above the Mason-Dixon line of staff.
Safety and Watch Group spokesperson Durrance Daniels says the police did not do enough, which was more chilling because the town was founded in the 1920s as a safe haven for Black residents.
Lincoln Heights is our home. If somebody broke into your home, you call the police, and the police says, if they do it again, we haven't broken any law, so we're just going to allow them to break into your home again. What would you do?
Are you worried at all that having a potentially armed response could just create more friction, create more danger?
So this is the stand that people have to take when their backs are against the wall. One potential danger to prevent a bigger potential danger is definitely in place, and here we have it. So this brother, Durrance Daniels, I looked up his information online. Looks like he's been very involved in this community for a long time. So, this guy is very invested in this.
I'll answer that by saying I've never felt safer as a Black man in my community than I have right now.
The mayor of Evendale, which oversees the police force that responded that day, said in a statement to NBC News, "Our emphasis on de-escalation and public safety resulted in the incident's resolution without injuries to any of the persons involved." But residents here say they can't afford to wait. Every day, the Safety and Watch Group escorts children to school and patrols the streets.
Why do you all wear masks?
Those Nazis, we have reports of them finding our backgrounds, so we're not hiding ourselves from the residents, but we're protecting our family from what we're doing out here.
While many locals do support the security group, some, like business owner Eric Ruffin, say they wish the group wasn't needed.
We don't want to become what we hate. We don't want to become a group of people that walk around feeling like we have a reason in America to have to protect ourselves.
And this community,
stand up,
is not backing down.
We contacted the mayor of Evendale's office, and they say that prosecutors are looking at body camera footage of the neo-Nazi rally to see if any criminal charges could be filed. But meantime, the Hamilton County Sheriff is also calling on state lawmakers to pass legislation making it a crime to wear a mask with the purpose of intimidation while open carrying, guys.
So you have a little information about what happened in the past and brought you up to date for the most part. With what is happening today, we can see that these are people that have taken power into their own hands and exercised their right to self-determination, which is applaudable, if that's a word, but definitely commendable on their behalf. Doing so, we just got through doing the message of Yvette Carnell talking about political powerlessness, and we can see if there's going to be any backlash as a result of this in this country, but it's probably going to be the model going forward should these events continue to occur.
Morgan, let me ask you, one of the people you interviewed there, a young man, said he's never felt safer in his community than he does now. So this could have an impact nationwide, things like this. I mean, there is a contagion factor in safety. People always seek it. What did the mayor or anybody that you spoke to think about the contagion factor?
Duran's, I don't want to speak for him, but after my conversation with him, I feel like I could confidently say he would say the contagion factor has already happened. Because when I asked, is this a reaction to a local moment or a national movement? And he said, look at January 6th. He said, you already have people felt emboldened to come here locally because of what they saw nationally. If you can hang from the building of the hallowed halls of the Capitol and then be pardoned, not be prosecuted, why don't you think you can come to a small village of African Americans, only 3,000 people?
Morgan, does the group have any real authority? But as long as they stay within the confines of the law, they should be okay.
It's a great question. I asked that basically, are you stopping cars when they come in because you think someone looks suspicious? Is that, profiling in its own sort of way? And they said, no. We are patently aware of what our rights are and what our limitations are. They said, we're not officers. What we do is we are trying to cooperate with the police department. So if we see suspicious activity, because remember the KKK came back with flyers just after this rally. So they're saying this is more of a defensive posture to deter people from entering our community and showing them by virtue of our masks, by virtue of our guns, that you can't come here and we're not going to take this punch lying down.
All right. Important.
Absolutely. That's definitely the model in the event that our women and children are in danger in some type of way. So the response is absolutely appropriate. Now, here's a legal response online, or just mostly informational from the legendary attorney Benjamin Crump. In Lincoln Heights, Ohio, a majority Black community has launched an armed patrol to protect itself after a neo-Nazi rally last month saw extremists carry rifles and shouting slurs. Residents say the move is about safety, not provocation, stepping up where authorities fell short. And that is absolutely the appropriate response. Keywords there being this is about safety, not a provocation. And fill in the gaps where the police are falling short. Let's see what the rest of the internet is saying about this.
What is going on? It is Hood News 75, and a hate group came to Lincoln Heights in Cincinnati, Ohio, because they thought it was acceptable to come here and start some BS and leave.
Yeah, and they got their flag. Yeah. And they got their flag.
I love my people. I love my people. And I'm proud of y'all. But y'all be safe out there. They want to see us act out. They want to see us act out. They're looking for a reason for us to act out. Just be safe out there. My thing is, why would y'all go out there to Cincinnati, Ohio, Lincoln Heights? Me personally, any place that's got heights in it, I know it's hood and in the ghetto. Hey, personal experience. Personal experience. I have a brother who lives in Ohio. I asked him, how hood is Lincoln Heights? He told me, depends on the day. They're a bunch of crash outs. It's one of those places where you go point A to point B and get out. Why would you go there? Huh?
So I'm not sure I agree with everything this brother's saying. You definitely want to be mindful. And, as far as them, the group that's protecting themselves in Lincoln Heights, you don't want to be the provocateurs, which they're saying. It's not about provocation, but you don't want to be trapped into provocation either. I agree with the brother's sentiment in that be mindful, be vigilant, be watchful. But at the same time, I didn't see anything ghetto about the place. They seem to be organized and a black front. Even the businessman didn't have anything bad to say. He was just more in the line of, why should we have to do this anyway? But anyway, let's move on. Here is another tweet from Elena Quest, just echoing the sentiment of what's going on around the internet. Lincoln Heights, Ohio, is the first African American self-governing community north of the Mason-Dixon line. Established in the 1920s, it was developed as a haven for Black families seeking home ownership and independence during the time of racial segregation. And it's funny, a lot of these so-called ghettos always started out as bastions of opportunity for Black people in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And according to so many people, they actually turned out that looks like where they may have been places that were targeted for other things, which caused property value to go down. I don't know if that's the case in Lincoln Heights, but I do know in a lot of the major cities, and that's a global phenomenon. You even see Black suburbs of the 70s and 80s in Black developing countries in Africa and the Caribbean. Many of those nice suburbs where people were looking to be upwardly mobile from the 70s and 80s. Today, those places are low economic zones. And that's a global phenomenon. That's something you see in America. You see any notorious ghetto in America, you see that they were once thriving Black economic hubs, including a place like Compton, California. Imagine. I wonder what the root of that phenomenon is, and that's something that we should look for in the future. Continuing with Lena Quest's tweet, in 1946, Lincoln Heights officially became a village, allowing its predominantly Black population to govern themselves. It's not a coincidence neo-Nazis decided to go there to have a rally. What they didn't expect was the town to rally together and fight back. We saw them get chased the fuck out of here. That's her words, I'm just quoting. In response, the residents have taken up arms to protect and defend their community. They didn't like when the Black Panthers armed themselves. Let's see how they tried to manipulate the Second Amendment now that they realize Nazis aren't the only ones with weapons. So, see, just a moment of cautionary advice from the sister Lena Quest, who is not wrong. Again, when you're a powerless people, you see that laws can be bent against you. So let's move on to this article. We sticking together. Residents of historically Black suburb protect themselves from neo-Nazi rally. Residents say it's no coincidence that Lincoln Heights was the site of a recent white supremacist march. On February 7th, 13 neo-Nazi and white supremacist terrorists gathered on a highway bridge and exit ramp armed with assault rifles and engaged in a hateful rally against the predominantly African American residents of Lincoln Heights, Ohio. As the demonstrators proudly displayed swastikas, waved banners filled with hate speech, and shouted racial slurs, local residents confronted the aggressors bearing firearms of their own before setting up an impromptu checkpoint to prevent more demonstrators from entering. Lincoln Heights, a village of about 3,000 residents, located 13 miles north of Cincinnati, Ohio, is the oldest self-governing African American community in the United States, north of the Mason-Dixon line. The suburbs once thriving business district and rich community resources have slowly eroded over the course of several decades due to disenfranchising policies promoted by the Cincinnati Police Department and Hamilton County officials. So there you go. You actually have to find out the what, right? So we know that the police department was part of it, even though I'm not sure why a community 13 miles north of Cincinnati, unless there's a county city thing, but Hamilton is the county, that have targeted the village's tax base, valid property valuation, and self-governance. So that's definitely one thing that's attacked when they want to get these formerly upwardly mobile African American communities. They attack the property valuation. Lincoln Heights, formerly one of the wealthiest African American communities in the United States, has faced a systemic denial of resources since its incorporation in 1946, when only 10% of its originally proposed area was awarded by Hamilton County, excluding industrial plants that were instead given to predominantly white village of Evandale. The village has also been affected by a Cincinnati Police Department gun range built on its border, which has caused such intense noise pollution that residents have compared it to a living near a war zone. So here you see politics in action. Again, we just did the video on political powerlessness. So when it came time to vote for the industrial plants, the white town who had a little more political power gained it over this black town. And ever since then, property valuation has gone down, and erosion of the tax base, because when the houses are losing value, there's no incentive for second generation people to maintain those homes, and they have to go to larger cities for greener pastures, which seems to be what's happening globally. Let me tell you how a slum evolves, family. Present day slums in 2025 in developing countries. You have your nice areas. In certain countries, you might have your resort areas. And how slums develop over a period of time is that they are withheld resources. So in developing countries, slums develop because these areas get zero resources to them. In the case of America, when you do have places that are denied resources, what they ultimately do is just they start to do an equivalent of condemning the area and bringing up all types of legal excuses in order to eradicate the citizenry and rebuild the area under new ownership. That's been the cycle we've seen in so many cities where they exercise eminent domain. It's just that in these developing countries, they don't do any such thing. They just continue to drown and deny resources to the area, and ever increasingly, these areas become slums. So with that said, you won't see that in America because this just gives an additional opportunity to developers to demolish the whole place, as we saw in Georgetown in Washington, D.C., which was formerly a black neighborhood, and so many former black neighborhoods from the time before the First World War. Because the Lincoln Heights police force was disbanded in 2014, law enforcement from the neighboring village of Evandale, a predominantly white community, and the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office were the first to respond to the rally. So the first problem is that there is no police force in the first place there. And, you got to give it to these people, these neo-Nazis, because they probably did their research and knew the vulnerability in that area. Not praising them in the least bit, but this is what you call reconnaissance. So someone has to be there to ensure that this protection is in place for the people of Lincoln Heights. Residents of Lincoln Heights quickly gathered to address the armed threat to their community and were kept back by police seeking to avoid any escalation between the two groups. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Department is the closest operating law enforcement agency to the site of the rally, with offices at Lincoln Heights Municipal Building, less than half a mile from the spot on the highway where demonstrators dropped a banner that read, "America is for the white man." Eyewitness videos, traffic camera footage, and body camera footage from officers all show that after local residents assembled to expel the neo-Nazi group, Hamilton County Sheriff's deputies and police officers were from the nearby village of Evandale escorted the demonstrators back to their rented U-Haul truck and helped them load their racist paraphernalia before allowing them to leave without pressing charges. Durrance Daniels, who we saw in the video, a Lincoln Heights resident council member, village council member, and a leader of the local revitalization and advocacy nonprofit called the Heights Movement, says that the law enforcement's response to the aggressors' display reflects the lasting impact of public policy on Lincoln Heights, which has relied on the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office since 2014. It's a disappointment as a human and a taxpayer, to see police protecting hate crimes and terrorists over their community members. So I guess one thing to do at some point is to find out what happened to the police department. So it doesn't seem that it was voluntary. We know in many cases that a lot of numbers for police departments are enhanced in order to receive additional funding. But this is something that we will continue to look at, family, and any similar instances, as we want to know and be aware of the safety of our people. With that said, this is your brother, Afro Descendant Ali. Please support the Cash App at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And we will be back on the Angel Network 1930, continuing to bring you this information. Peace and blessings, fam.